So welcome everyone to today's GRWE event, Elevate Your Discovery Calls, a quick path to qualified clients. So this session's all about helping you turn your discovery calls into one of the most powerful tools in your business. So whether you're looking to improve your close rate, feel more confident in conversations, or better qualify your leads, this session is for you. You're going to walk away with some practical strategies that you can use right away to improve how you show up in the sales process and start seeing results. So now let's dive in. I'm going to share a bit about our speaker. And our speaker today is Carrie Tuttle. She is a revenue leadership coach and fractional sales leader based right here in Calgary, Alberta, who specializes in helping organizations align their sales and marketing teams to drive growth and enhance performance. As the founder of Team Mojo, she has been supporting sales and marketing leaders since 2018, focusing on injecting meaning into their work and better team engagement. With over 2 decades of experience in sales and marketing, Carrie serves key roles for her clients. She implements accountability systems and trains professionals in sales and leadership excellence. And if you want to learn more and connect with Carrie, her website is there, teammojo.ca. So Carrie, over to you.
All right, so let's dive in. For this session, one thing that I want to make really clear is that I'm assuming that you've already found someone to have a conversation with, right? So I'm not talking about lead generation today. That is a totally separate topic. So I did want to add a couple of things. Laura introduced me, but I'll give you a little bit of background. So I started my career in sales and marketing. So I was in market research, then transitioned to sales because research, unfortunately, often doesn't even pay the bills. It's quite sad that that part of marketing is kind of undervalued, and it tends to be the first thing cut in a budget. So the benefit of me working in market research, though, was that I got to work with all kinds of really interesting companies around North America. And it was crazy the amount of responsibility they gave me at mid-20s, flying me all over the place. I got to consult with a lot of different companies that are not even on this slide, like Staples USA, McDonald's, the Home Depot, and they were literally taking my advice. And I was like, what am I even doing in this room? So the great thing about that is it gave me confidence to start talking to C-suite executives. And I started to understand really quickly because I knew nothing, I had to ask questions. So I learned very quickly what their pain points were. And that led into eventually my sales career. And now I am in coaching capacity as well. I am a certified ICF coach, if you're familiar with the International Coach Federation. I take that really seriously because a lot of people call themselves coaches, and it means all manner of things these days. However, there is rigor and discipline behind it. And it's important to note that when you're working with somebody who is a certified coach, they are not just there to give you advice, they truly will guide you in your path. And so I take that very seriously. So here's some of the brands I've worked with and advised in more recent years. And this is me standing in the Calgary Tower. If you're familiar with the Calgary Tower, there is a glass floor. Now, the reason this is significant is because I am afraid of heights. And in sales, there is fear that we need to face. So here's me facing my fear of heights, and I do it repeatedly, right? I go hiking all the time. I sit on a chairlift to go skiing, and I get vertigo. When I look down, sometimes I still get vertigo, and yet I need to face that fear anyway. So today we're going to be talking about a little bit about building trust and rapport, but that really is the thread through every conversation we would have in sales. We're going to talk more deeply about using questioning strategies to uncover what the client truly needs. What are they really looking for? Not just the band-aid thing they tell you, the scratch on their foot. It is what is truly underlying that need. And then we're going to guide the prospect through the sale. And for those of you who know me from the coaching world, you will see there is a coach-like approach to how I teach people to sell. We're going to talk about presenting offers very, very high level though, because we can't go deep into the entire sales process, but we can talk very briefly based on qualifying. Pre-call plan was attached, and we're going to play a very short game if we have time. So I think we'll have time. So the question is, what part of sales scares you? Now, for most people, they will say a few things like this. You might recognize something on the screen. Normally, I'd get you guys to share, but in the interest of time, I'll offer a few things that might come up for you. So ask yourself, what part of it really scares you? Because if you don't know, then when you walk into a sales conversation, you're already behind the eight ball. You're already losing if you don't address what scares you. So then the question is, what would make it less scary? Is it practicing? Is it preparing? Is it practicing with somebody who's going to be harder on you than a real prospect would be? Is it working with a coach? Is it getting more training, more product knowledge? What would make it less scary? Is it pretending that the $10,000 you're asking for is only $1,000? Take a zero off. Sometimes that works too. So think about that. And that will help frame our conversation going forward, because we need to address the fear first. The other thing I like to talk about is what sales really is. So sales is not selling ice to Eskimos or whatever crazy, little phrase you want to use there. There's people who believe that if we don't call on somebody who we know needs what we have, we are actually doing them a disservice. So I would offer that mindset for you, or that frame of looking at things, because it's similar to it's unethical to sell somebody something they don't need, right? It's just as unethical to not sell somebody something you know they need, or at least offer it. Ultimately, the decision is theirs, right? But I love the fourth point, which is making people's lives better and easier. Because for me, I see sales as a channel to healing. And when I say that, I mean healing people and healing the earth. So I have made a new, I guess it's an objective of my company, to only work with people who are doing good things for people and planet. I will no longer work with people who are only chasing profit. And that's just my new, not that new actually. It's just something that emerged from a client that I recently worked with, that I was like, yeah, this is reconfirming what I need to do. My mission is to help people who want to help the world be a better place. So that's my view on sales. So here's the frame that you need to think of as we're talking about qualifying clients or prospects in this case. The person who asks the question owns the conversation. Traditionally, what happens is a prospect will invite us in for a meeting and say, what do you got? Right? And they sit back, put their feet up, maybe not put their feet up, but they sit back and they're waiting for you to share all your features and benefits, right? And yet you have no idea what they're actually interested in. So you might be telling them a whole bunch of things that are irrelevant to them. A great example is when you go in and look for shopping for a car, right? Big purchase, something you're going to think about. You probably do a lot of research before you walk in. So you probably know a lot of the features and benefits already. It's not unlike how you would have a conversation for most of you. You have businesses. People know a little bit of something about what you do, or at least they think they do, right? And what happens is when we go to qualify, they tell us their symptom. They tell us the thing that they think they need. They think they know what the solution is. Doctor, I need Tylenol 3 for my pain. Well, a doctor would not ethically just pull out the prescription pad and start writing. They would ask questions. And similarly, you need to do the same thing. You are the expert. You get to diagnose them. And the only way we can diagnose and then match a solution to a problem or a pain or a whatever you want to call it, a catastrophic issue, right? Is if we ask questions and understand the need. So we need to get below the surface. And typically our prospects will stop at surface needs. So for some reason, this is separated and there's actually 4 steps. So the first level I want to point to is need. Every salesperson in the world is going to ask questions about the need or the problem. They're going to say, hey, what's going on in your world? Tell me a little bit more about the problem. A lot of them will skip the second question, which I threw up there. I put a bunch of questions here because the worst thing is for me to just give you theory. You need words, right? Like people usually need a talk track, at least a starting point. So please don't take this as a script. Make this your own, and you're going to elaborate and build on these concepts, but at least it gives you a starting point. So you might say, tell me about your challenge that you're experiencing, Laura. I want to hear more about this. Can you give me an example of that? Because people will usually gloss over and give you generalizations. So what we need is an example. Well, what does that look like in your world? How do you see that happening? How do people react to the situation when that happens? How long has that been going on? So you start to then go next level is what is the impact? And I put the word economic because ideally we want to quantify it. So what have you tried so far? Because I don't want to suggest a solution they've already done. They'll be like, yeah, been there, done that. Thanks a lot. Wasting my time. So again, this is why we're asking questions to understand. What have you tried so far? What have your marketing campaigns looked like thus far? And what worked or didn't work? They might tell you the vendor they've been using, or you might have to ask that. But if they tell you, you don't want to insult your competition. So I don't say, well, what do they suck at or something? I mean, you guys would never say that. But if you ask the question, hey, well, what do you like that they do? Because you want to make sure that's still in the solution that you give them so they have assurance they're not missing out on something. And then what do you wish it did better? Or what do you wish was in the solution that isn't there now? I'm still not insulting the competition, right? I'm asking what's missing or what they wish they had. So finding those gaps is really important. And then the other question is how much they think that's cost them. And they might say, well, I'm spending XYZ. Okay, great. That's important too, right? I've spent $10,000 on this issue on my website, still doesn't bring me any leads. Okay, awesome information. I need to know the opportunity cost. When I say, how much do you think that's cost you? Like, what are you missing out on? How many leads do you feel are falling through the cracks? And then again, most salespeople pretty much stop there. They might get into timeline, but they miss level 3, which is really important. So here's how I ask. Often we're talking, for most of us, we're smaller businesses. We might be also talking to smaller businesses. So if you're talking to the president or the owner or whatever title, they're probably the decision maker. However, we don't want to assume that. And everybody runs their decisions by someone, even if it's their best friend, their spouse, their assistant, right? So I ask, besides you, because I'm not insulting them, I'm complimenting their decision-making ability and authority. Besides you, who will be choosing the solution? Notice I didn't use the word decision. Why? Most people hate making decisions, but they like choosing things. They like selecting things. Think of Amazon. You're like, click, 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 click. It's fun to buy when you're making selections. It's not fun to make a decision that you think there's going to be an impact on your business and on you. So the other question I might ask is, they might say, oh, it's just me. Okay, great. Who would you run this by? And what would they ask you that you would want to be able to have the answer to? So those are some more questions with authority. And then the last one is timeline. When do you want to enjoy the solution? Not when do you want to start? Let's say you're doing a website revamp. When do you want to start revamping your website? Ugh, that sounds like a lot of work, right? No. When do you want the new website to be in place? And then we need to know, what are the steps? Like, do you need to vet this solution against some other technology? What are some things that are going to need to be done before that so that we build that into the timeline? All right. And sometimes we can back them up so that it conveniently means they need to sign right now. Because we need to get them moving, right? And most buyers will underestimate how long it takes to implement and forget to add in buffer time. So we often want to back them up to maybe not now, right? We're not creating fake urgency, but give them that realistic, like, okay, well, we better get started because you're going to need some time to train your people, or you might need time to integrate other softwares, or whatever the case may be. So I think I'm going to have to skip the game. Sorry, guys, but I will give you the concepts. So when we think about basic question structure with qualifying, everybody's familiar with the idea of open and closed questions, right? So open questions are exploratory. They usually start with who, what, where, when. And I'm putting an asterisk with why. When we ask why, it can sometimes sound judgmental. So just be really careful, because our buyers are already on high alert. Oh my goodness, she's trying to sell me something. So when we ask why, like, why haven't you fixed this sooner? Obviously, that sounds judgmental. So maybe not a great example, but like if they say, yeah, I haven't, let me give an HR example. I haven't hired a fractional HR person before because, and they just leave it at that. And then you ask them why, they're going to go, oh, right, I should have. I shouldn't be doing this all by myself because I don't have the knowledge. They start judging themselves, even if you're not. So instead, ask them, what led you to do it that way? Or how have you approached this so far? And then you're not asking why. Okay. Closed-ended questions. So when we're doing discovery and qualifying, we typically want the majority of our questions to be open at the beginning of the cycle. Everybody's familiar with the sales funnel? Yes? Okay. The newer they are to you, the more open-ended questions you ask. Most people ask too many closed-ended questions because you're diagnosing. Diagnostics are further down the funnel. You're confirming and you're focusing the prospect. So I'm not going to say don't use closed-ended questions, which some sales trainers would say. I say use them strategically. Okay. They're more, diagnostic in nature. So have you done this? Did you do this? Is there any, that kind of thing. Okay. All right. So let's get to that handout. The way that we can run a better sales meeting is if we, if we are prepared. We will have more confidence. We will run a better sales meeting. We will not forget to ask as many questions as we need to ask, because our prospects' time is valuable. And by the way, so is yours. So preparing sounds like another thing that you have to do on your to-do list, but it will save you time in the long run. Okay. So this is the first half, the top half, because it didn't all fit on one slide. So you can put your prospect's name, company, whatever. What is your objective for the meeting? Do you want to learn more about their industry? Do you know that already that they're not a good prospect, but they're really well connected and you can get some introductions? Do they have a great event that you want to be part of or you want to be a speaker at? What is your objective? And then for your outcome, what is like best case? So I'm going to give examples because the worst thing I can do is give you a blank sheet of paper and you're like, huh, what did she mean by that? So, first best case example is get a second meeting. It might be get a deal, but most of us aren't one call closes, right? So it might be get another meeting. Another good outcome is we disqualify and move on, and we don't waste any more time. So don't think that it not going anywhere is necessarily a bad thing. It's actually getting you one step closer to somebody who's a great fit for you. Okay. So the great outcome is you can always ask for an introduction to somebody else, right? So then you have those questions that you're planning out to qualify. So NEAT is the acronym, which I forgot to point out on those levels. So it's need, oh gosh, economic, the economic impact, our authority and timeline. So we want to have those clearly mapped out. All right. So now, I don't know about you, but I've experienced objections where people are like, I don't know, this doesn't work for me, or, oh, this is really expensive, right? So the question is, how do we respond to that without sounding defensive? And the best way, so that's too expensive. I hear that. I don't really need it. I don't really need coaching. I don't really need social media or SEO, right? We're happy with our current supplier. They might say that and fill in the blank. I'm sure you have others. So the best way to respond is not get defensive and probably to ask them another question. So I don't really need XYZ. Maybe you don't, but if you did, what's an aspect that's most valuable to you? You can dial it back to market research. You've already got them there. You've already got a conversation. Plus, it disarms them. Like, whoa, she's not going to lay the pressure on because I said no or because I said, I don't know. That's different. That's too expensive. Oh, okay. What do you think is fair? And the word fair is really important because they can't say $1, right? That would be an insult and they know it. So you put the pressure back on the prospect when it comes to money. Here's another example. We're happy with our current supplier. Glad to hear that. I'm learning what I can do to keep clients happy too. Out of curiosity, what are they doing right? Then you dial it back to market research. And if you keep going, they might actually love you and say, you know what, I'd like to give you a chance. So there's always opportunity there. And so in the second half of the handout, there's room for you to do just that. And then have any notes or more questions. It's a Word doc, so it expands if you want to keep adding space. So last thing, because I'm almost out of time and I want to leave lots of room for questions, is when we think of the investment, I want to give you guys a different mindset. It's not just about money, right? So every time we approach a prospect, they aren't just investing dollars, but they're investing time and potentially resources to implement, right? So there might be training that they have to do for their team. There might be a process change and they have to manage through like that change management process. There may be some logistics, software that needs to be updated or coding. So it's more than just money. When they challenge you right away on money, I ask them to put it aside. I say, you know what, we're going to talk about that. Don't worry, I'm not dodging the question. But before we even get there, I think it's important that we address the time aspect. So for me, my business, when I'm consulting or when I step into an organization and I'm their fractional sales manager, sometimes the CEO says, awesome. They wipe their hands of the team and think they don't have to do anything anymore. And that isn't the case. And I need them to know that right away. Like, there's still time that you need to invest. It's just less intense. And you're going to need to train me on what your standards are. what you would say in certain situations. Are you willing to invest that time? And if they're not, the money doesn't matter, right? I can disqualify them and move on. So we can avoid that conversation by addressing the other issues first. And when they start to also see the value of, okay, I'm going to invest this time because I'm getting XYZ value, it actually elevates your value to them, and you can eliminate some of those objections with money up front. So that was a lot of information really fast. I will share, here's how to connect with me if you would like to. And then I guess we'll get into questions, right, Laura?
Yes. Thanks very much, Carrie. That was amazing. A lot of good information. I took a lot of notes. So I thank you again for attending and providing us with so much actionable insights. So yeah, let's get into some discussion.